and welcome to the Spa Debrief. I'm joined with Davidson for this, and I mean, this was the kind of race that I love. It had everything: safety cars, full course yellows, chaos, drama. What was the big story from this race for you?
I think really the big story for me in this event was, although it looks like on paper the same old story of two Toyotas, first and second,
with quite a big,
it wasn't the full story. Don't read just the lap times or the papers. The story today is that the competition are closing up in terms of pace, lap times, consistency, strength of their cars. This circuit definitely suited the newcomers a bit more, the Ferraris, the Porsches, the Cadillacs. You know, we had another new team on the grid. We'll get into them later with JOTA, again a Porsche. But it looked like they're starting to home in.
It's no longer laps apart, it's seconds,
exactly.
It's minutes, and that's so exciting.
Exactly. I mean, look, the tenths of second gap between the fastest lap time done, I think it was Kobayashi set the fastest time in the number 7 Toyota of the race, only a few tenths before you got to the fastest time of the Ferrari.
Brilliant.
And I just think, if that's what we've got already in round 3, bring
treat.
on Le Mans and also through to the end of the year.
Well, how about we start off by talking about our winners today? Well, first and second for the Toyota, and perhaps they had very different days yesterday. Number 7 on pole, the number 8 starting, was it 36 today?
It was 36, so number 8, you know, had a terrible time in qualifying, crashed going through Eau Rouge on the cold tyres, on the out lap.
Brutal.
Really brutal. I mean, an unfair penalty really for the small mistake. It was a big price to pay, but they played it really well today, I must say. I do think car 7 deserved the win. I think they had the edge speed-wise on car 8, so the rightful car won. Mike Conway in particular, a brilliant first stint, really top quality stuff from Mike. I would say my driver of the day in Hypercar was him. Because of that, starting on the slicks, damp conditions, really cold weather here today in Spa, even by Spa standards this time of the year. And Mike he delivered. He gave up a few places at the start, kept himself out of trouble, kept his nose clean, car pointing in the right direction at all times. And then when the slick started to get into the window, he started to make headway, got himself into the lead of the race, and yeah, he really teed them up for a good victory today.
The 51 and the 50 ultimately then had very different races after that. Let's talk about that a little bit. The 51 getting a podium, that's going to be a very good success story, but the 50 come away disappointed.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really a case of what could have been for Ferrari, I feel, today. For the first time, I come away from the race thinking they had the pace. They genuinely had the pace most of the time today to really take the fight to Toyota, possibly to even win the race on outright speed. But like we mentioned already, didn't get the strategy right with the tyres. You know, it was really a close call, but they put both cars onto the wet tyres. Teams like Cadillac decided to split the strategy, one on the slicks, one on the wets. And you know, Ferrari, they got the lead at the start, but it wasn't enough. It didn't last long enough. And but then once everything played out and the race kind of calmed down, they really had the speed. And I think it's going to be a race where they go, right, let's regroup after this one, take away the positives, and understand that we can go to Le Mans, which is, you know, in many ways a similar track to Spa. It's high speed, it's all about that efficiency of the car, which the Ferrari had here today in Spa. And I think they're going to be even stronger in Le Mans because of that. And if they don't look at the negatives quite as much, I'm sure they can say, look, although one of our cars didn't finish, we know why, cold tyres, driver,
it's a learning point.
Yeah, you know, it happened to Brendan Hartley yesterday in qualifying. It can happen
to the best
to
of them.
Exactly. It's just the way it was today in Spa, with it being so cold. It was always going to be a challenge. But you know, you take those negatives out of the way, those anomalies that won't be there, hopefully in Le Mans. Hopefully we'll have slightly warmer weather than this.
I'd love some heat, please.
Yeah, and then you can say, right, you know, our car was performing well. When it was in the right window, it was pretty much as fast as the Toyota. So, you know, that's really good. The way that Collada was just coming back through the field.
So impressive.
The way he just flew past Makawiki on the last lap of the race, catching in 3 seconds a lap, every lap. Really, he looked like, for the first time I'd say, since seeing Ferrari arrive in the World Endurance Championship, and James Collado at the wheel behind that hypercar, he looked at one with the car. He looked like the body language of the car, he was giving it everything, no inch spared in how he was getting the speed from that car. And if you can just drive they can drive the car crew like that in Le Mans, I'm sure they can take the fight to Toyota. Genuinely, in year one, that's impressive.
And speaking of some newcomers, quickly, your former team JOTA brought their 963 to Spa this weekend for the first time. Very little testing, but I think their aim was to finish the race, and that's what they did, and they finished it quite comfortably.
They did, and you know, one of the works Porsches didn't finish the race. Broke down on the exit of the final corner. It was a lights out job, wasn't it? And no power left in that car at all. I still don't know exactly what happened, but it was clearly electrics. But yeah, there'll be a big investigation there. But from JOTA's point of view, what a steep learning curve. I mean, you know, you had Cadillac arrive here with a second car, and we heard how they were struggling and saying, we're really up against things with this second car, it's just arrived, and to prepare it, get it up to speed, it's tough. But they've been running the other car all the way through this championship so far, and they've raced in America with it as well. JOTA literally received the car.
Talk about in at the deep end, right?
Yeah,
right.
They received a brand new car into a new category, the drivers as well. And yeah, phenomenal job by JOTA. I think they've surpassed expectations.
And we are now in the pit lane, so let's chat a little bit about the wider hypercar field.
We're going to get run over by a Ferrari.
Let's preferably also not do that. We've made it this far, let's not suffer to this now. So yeah, I mean, your Glickenhausers, your Van Wals, Porsche, where are the big stories from this hypercar field today? Who do you think will have a positive race? Who's got a lot to learn?
It's not just any Ferrari, it's the race-winning Ferrari in class. And yeah, with that, the first female victor in the World Endurance Championship.
Come back to that.
Yeah, we'll get onto that story later, but I love seeing the cars after they've just finished an endurance race, all beaten up and battle-scarred. Yeah, really good. But look, yeah, so other teams, unfortunate big talking point. You mentioned the Ferrari crash with the number 50, just as Fuoco had got in behind the wheel and Molina had done a brilliant job.
So unfortunate.
But like we said, can happen to anyone. But Renger van der Zande, I mentioned they ran a second Cadillac here. That was that car. He did a great job at the start of the race. That's the disappointing thing. Absolutely flying. They were on the slicks. He kept the car pointing in the right direction as well. He was kind of mimicking what Mike Conway was doing and raving about his first stint. Renger was somewhere there or thereabouts as well. And then at some point, I still need to know what happened. You know, was it pure driver error? It was under pressure at the time, going into a Rouge, and or was it a power steering issue? Did something on that new car here go wrong? Did something break? We could hear him talking about the power steering and how it's suddenly locked out in the compression. Was it the speed he carried? Was it the line he was on? Was it the fact the car just bottomed out momentarily? Is there something wrong with the power steering system? What happened? We need to, before I go blaming Renger 100%, I need to know, you know, the ins and outs technically of what could have happened to that car. So yeah, we'll get to the bottom of that one. But a massive crash, one that I'm so glad that he walked away from. He
even gave a little bow to the crowd. Like, what a moment!
He was upset. I could see with himself in a way, because he kind of threw his arms down, and after bowing to the crowd, he threw the helmet into the car and slammed the door. And those are little signs that makes me question whether it was driver error or car, and maybe
combination of the two.
Maybe combination of the two. Maybe did just put the car in the wrong place, like too much curb on the way in, and that just set the steering to lock out momentarily as the car bottomed out. I don't know, but either way, great to see him walk away from it.
Yes, definitely.
But it puts the team on the back foot for Le Mans, and we heard Sebastian Bourdais, who shares the car with van der Zande and didn't get to drive today. We heard him saying the team are really up against it now for Le Mans.
It's going to be tough.
We don't know what we're going to do at this stage. It's too early, but yeah, hopefully something can be salvaged from this, and we'll see them running. Hopefully, their aim is to run 3 cars at Le Mans, not just the 2. Maybe they'll be down to 2.
It's a challenge for them. Yeah.
It really will be. So that is another huge talking point from today. The other one is Peugeot. Reliability seemed to be better. Both cars made it to the line today, seemed
good, yeah.
unscathed. Yay! Small achievement, that's what they wanted, but the pace of the car wasn't there yet. They started the race a bit stronger, it seemed, but then that pace just faded away. So yeah, there'll be questions asked there, I'm sure.
How about we start talking about LMP2? Because, I mean, up until the last 20 minutes, I think I had not a clue who was going to be able to take that in the end. What was it that decided this race?
Well, look, WRT, great, strong race for them. They win on home soil for them being a Belgian team. I'm happy for them, but I think what really gave them this victory today was what happened in the early part of the race on those mixed conditions and the safety cars. They decided to start with their silver drivers.
Right.
The gap
different strategy.
Yeah, the gap that Blomqvist managed to pull out, and it was brilliant what he did at the start against the likes of Sean Gelael in the number 31 WRT car. He extended a lot that gap, but then it was completely eradicated. So the deficit that a silver driver had, you effectively ran your silver drivers at a pace of a platinum.
Yeah.
That's what WRT played brilliantly today, and I think that's what ultimately gave them the win.
Clearly worked out for them. And I also want to give a little shout out to Europol, because they've had a tough couple of seasons, so great to see them back on the podium today. Yeah,
they've made some good changes there into Europol, and you know, they had a strong car today. So I'm really glad to see them fighting hard and making progress with their package. So like I said, you know, LMP2 cars they're all the same chassis, powertrain. So the job that the team does in terms of setup and the driver lineup, that's so really important. What gives you your performance. So into Europol, they're really making that difference.
Before we go too far past it, we promised we'd come back to it. The number 83,
oh, there it is.
The LMGTE Am race winner for today. There's so much to talk about here, but the thing I really want to start with, LILOU WADOUX, the first ever woman to win a WEC race. What a day!
It's fantastic. It's not just fantastic for her and this car that sits to our left. It's fantastic for the World Endurance Championship. It's fantastic for any aspiring female athlete that wants to get into racing. It's such a great initiative, and like I said to you before in Portimao, that seeing is believing, and I really feel like she's found her feet here in that car.
And with that driver lineup as well.
With that driver lineup, winners today. It's a WEC first. They've made history, or she's made history. She's found her feet. She's found her niche. That car, you know, every driver's got a car, a category, a series where they really excel and perform better than they might do in other cars. And I feel like what she's doing in that car is, I can see that she is really getting the most out of it.
You think it just clicks?
It just has clicked for her. She did LMP2 last year. She says, you know, she admits that it didn't really go her way and she didn't necessarily enjoy driving the car that much. And it showed in her performance, or lack of performance, quite often as a silver driver. But she's a silver driver in this car, and it's like a completely different driver. She's genuinely, she's flying. She's more confident. She's making decisive overtakes. I feel was the backbone of that car crew today. And although you hand it over to you know, Rivera that takes the car home to ultimate victory, but that's the job that a professional driver's gonna do.
That's his gig.
You expect that from them. Like we saw from all of the pros out there at the end, that's what they do. The lap time difference doesn't come from the professional drivers. The majority of that lap time differential comes from the silver drivers and the bronze drivers. And LILOU, as a silver driver,
made the difference
against other silvers. Was, you know, she was head and shoulders above them, in my opinion, and I feel gave that ultimate car crew that top step of the podium today.
So to wrap us up, I'm going to throw you a challenging one. I want one driver of the day across the entire championship. You're one driver of the day. Who are you thinking?
One driver of the day and across the entire championship.
I know, I know.
That's a tough one. Look, we already mentioned her. She made history today. It's LILOU WADOUX. She drove the wheels off that thing, and I feel like she gave that car the ultimate victory in that category. So yeah, well done, LILOU. Fantastic job, and I hope we see even more success from her and the other females. You know, flying the flag for females in motorsport is something that I genuinely feel this is that WEC does best.
Truly. One final thing. Not long to go now until Le Mans. Anyone who's maybe not used Le Mans before, doesn't know what they're getting themselves in for, sell this year's Le Mans to them. What have we got to expect? What's coming up?
The centenary. So yeah, you know, it's bigger than it's ever been before, Le Mans. I'm expecting crowds of easily over 300,000 fans across it. It is a sellout, so if you haven't got your ticket yet, I'm sorry. Tune in though, watch it. It's going to be easily accessible for you. It's going to be a big story this year. I think it's going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, most competitive Le Mans we've ever seen. And yeah, if that doesn't sell it, I don't know what will.
Brilliant work. Thank you so much, Anne, and thank you so much for watching. Like Anne said, we'll see you at Le Mans in just a matter of a few weeks' time. Bring it on, the racing is going to be incredible.